So these are the shoes that I wish I'd tested in 2023. So I've got 6 specific shoes and a brand in general that I want to share with you today of shoes and brands that I wish I'd tested in 2023. Now I produced a similar video last year and what it did was create an amazing discussion down in the comments. Some of you guys would say to me, oh Andy, don't test that shoe. Nah, you're not missing out. Or Andy, you need to test that shoe. It is really, really good. And then of course I went on to try and find them in some kind of Black Friday sales or Christmas sales and they were absolutely brilliant. So I hope that you guys can give me some feedback on the shoes that I'm about to list today. So if you're excited for today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. Let's dive in to the list. So we're going to start off with a couple of shoes from Adidas, and the first one is the Adidas 8. Now this got great reviews from a lot of people. A lot of people spoke positively about it. There are a few negatives, but of course what we've got to remember in the world of super shoes and big stacks and big propulsion is that not every shoe is going to be like that, and the Adidas 8 is basically not any of those things. A little bit more lower drop, although it's not lower drop compared to a few years ago, but a non-plated, lightweight, speed day kind of shoe. And the couple of reasons for me why I wanted to try this, not only did I speak to Tim Gross, fellow YouTuber, about it, and he got on with them really well, but Kinvara 14 I'm currently using as a lightweight, non-plated daily trainer, relatively similar stack heights and stuff. I'm loving that shoe, absolutely incredible, and it's delivering on every single workout. I don't want to use plated shoes where I can, and so that's why the Adidas 8 would have fitted that bill. And secondly, the Takumi Sen 9 that I've been using, I had to cut that one short because of the cutout on the medial side, where you can see the exposed energy rods. That just meant that my ankles started collapsing in and I was getting such tightness up the inside and outside of my leg that I've just had to stop using them. So I wonder if the Adidas 8 would give me the light strike sensation that I love from Adidas, but also that lightweight sensation that I'm getting from the Kinvara 14. And just before we go any further, before I forget, as you can see, lighting is an issue right now, but if you saw last week's videos, I was in the other room, it was very echoey. I'm now in my office, so freshly painted wall, just need to get the lights sorted out and we can get rid of this damn shadow. So the Boston 12 is the other one that I kind of really wanted to test deep down. I heard conflicting reports on it, but I hear that it is a much better upgrade from previous Bostons, and that's what I want to do. For me, it's all about kind of getting my feet into some of the bigger, more popular models that are produced from brands every year so that I can get a feeling as to what they're like. And I know that Boston is a very, very popular model from Adidas. So I will be looking out for future discounts on that so I can see what it's all about. Some people said it's a little bit too heavy, some people said it's a little bit too firm. I am on the end of the spectrum where I prefer slightly firmer shoes, so I do feel that it sounds like it might work for me. Where it will work in the rotation, I just don't know, but if the comfort levels are good and it feels good and it gives me a very similar light strike midsole sensation, then I'm all for it. I've got plenty of shoes that will probably cover the same ground as the Boston 12, but again, just hearing the positive news from the upgrades from previous versions kind of meant that I was really tempted to try and grab this shoe. Ultimately, I went for the Takumi Sen 9 in the end, which, while it lasted, as I just said, was absolutely amazing, blew my mind and was right up there for a shoe of the year contender. But because, of course, it's had to be cut short, that's no longer the case. So yeah, I just want to get to more of those bigger model ranges, a bit like the Nike Pegasus, I suppose, from different brands, the Boston being one of them. The Hoka Rocket X2 is the third shoe that I'm really, really gutted that I haven't tested, and that is the one that I'll be making a beeline for if I ever see it come up on discount. Now, initially it didn't do my size, which is a UK 13, but now in later releases of the shoe, they have indeed made my size. So it is a shoe that's available to test. Couple of reasons. Again, I heard glowing reports of it. It was the first shoe that they put this new PIBA-based midsole in, which finally Hoka is coming up to the 21st century. It's brilliant to hear. And again, loads of people choosing it for their race day shoe. I actually go to a lot of races and see this shoe on a lot of people's feet, which is testament to the fact that they're obviously producing something that's now competitive. But secondly, the Hoka Mach X, which I'm using now, is by far one of my favorite shoes of the year. And again, I'm getting that wonderful sensation from that PIBA-based midsole that they're using in there. Yes, it's coupled with the EVA, a bit more stability. It is a wider platform, classic type of Hoka. I'm not going to say supportive, but that wider landing base does kind of enhance stability in a shoe. But that coupled with the PIBA foam that they're using in there just means the ride is so soft, a lot bouncier than previous Hoka shoes, and much more enjoyable. So I'm already thinking in my head, a full midsole of that with a plate, it's got to be a shoe to test. So that is definitely one that I'm going to be keeping my eye out for. Now I'm throwing the Asics Super Blast in the list mainly because I do really want to test it, but for so many of you that keep asking about why I haven't tested the Super Blast, I'm just going to give you the really simple reason: they don't make it in my size. Trust me, it would be one of the shoes that I would save all my pennies for and go and buy. It is absolutely hands down one that is just teasing me every single day. The fact that Asics don't make racing shoes and the Super Blast in my size is really frustrating. They make all their daily trainers up to like a size 15 or something, but their racing shoes and the Super Blast, it seems, stop at a UK size 12. And of course, I'm a 13. I have heard reports the Super Blast does run a bit large, so I might be able to get away with a 12, but I don't want to squeeze my foot in it for the sake of it. I want Asics to sit up, take note, and start producing shoes in larger sizes. If they're prepared to do it in the daily trainers, then why the heck aren't they prepared to do it in their super shoes? So yeah, just to answer all your questions, trust me, I'd love to test the Super Blast, but I just can't. And the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro is the 5th shoe on the list that I really want to try. It looked like such a quirky shoe when it came out, but again, I've heard some great reports, and again, it propels Mizuno into the 21st century and really puts them up there with some contenders in the super shoe space. This is a shoe that I don't see too much of at race days and start lines, but what I have heard again is that a lot of positive reviews are coming out from people that have bought it, have taken a chance on it, and have tried it. Again, I'm all for it, and I really want to give it a go. Any sort of super shoe, I'm really keen to try. I've never ever run in a Mizuno shoe before. That would be an amazing one. But hey, guess what? Once again, it only goes up to a UK size 12. So again, that's one that I would love to test but can't. I just wanted to throw that in the list and make you guys aware that is really one that I would desperately want to try. And the 6th one is the Topo Cyclone 2. Topo, not sure how you say it. Either way, that shoe really looked like it would work for me. Now, this shoe has had some great reviews from not only Kofuzi, I'm sure we've all seen that video on his channel, but I've spoken to a lot of you guys, even at races. Some of you have mentioned this shoe to me. Andy, you really should try it. And again, they don't make my size. I have scouted the Topo website for it. They just don't make my size. Again, it goes up to a UK 12. Whether that's changed, I haven't looked in a few months. Whether they've released another batch of the shoes in a bigger size, I don't know. I will keep checking, but this is one that really works. And what's really interesting is I jumped on a live stream with Kofuzi a few months ago now on his channel, and then after that stopped recording, we carried on chatting about a few running things for about 15-20 minutes after the recording finished. And one of the things that got brought up is he said, we were talking shoes, and he said the Topo Cyclone 2 would really work for you. If you love the Brooks Hyperion Max, I genuinely and strongly feel like this would be a shoe that would be worth trying if you can ever get hold of it. Now, Topo have kind of turned my head a little bit this year. I've noticed a few shoes coming into the mainstream a little bit more, seeing them pop up here, there and everywhere, and I'm hearing some good things. So again, if they start making my size in some of their models, they'd be definitely ones that I'd love to try. And finally, the brand in general. I'm sure I must have said this last year. New Balance. New Balance about 3 years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, I tested about 3 or 4 of their shoes, and the year before that, I did exactly the same as well. And I love them. They fitted me really well. They worked for me really well. I got some dud shoes, but also a lot of them were really good. If I cast my mind back, the Fuel Cell Propel was a great shoe. Didn't work for everybody, but my word, when you got it going, it was a brilliant shoe. I've tested 1080s, I've tested 880s, and they've all just worked really well. Prisms, and yeah, I just haven't tested a New Balance shoe for a couple of years now. Instantly in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I'd love to try out the More V4, I'd love to try out the latest 1080, the latest 880, I'd love to try out their Super Comp range. Again, what New Balance kind of do, a little bit like Hoka, is they release their super shoes only up to a UK size 12, but later down the line in future batches they tend to release bigger sizes. So I don't know if it's just an initial production thing where they just chuck out sort of like the main sizes and then later on they'll just expand the range. So I am grateful that they eventually get around to producing my size. I kind of feel like by the time that comes around, not necessarily the hype's died down, but other shoes have popped up for me that I would want to try over them, and then they just get forgotten. This isn't their daily trainers, this is more more like their super comp trainers, their super comp races, that sort of stuff. So yeah, to be honest with you, New Balance in general, I've got nothing against them. You don't see many reviews on the channel, and I really would love to try and get some of their shoes tested. A couple of notable absentees, I know I've mentioned those, but other ones that are kind of floated around that didn't quite make the list but really deserve a bit of an honourable mention. The Prime X Strung from Adidas. Again, I know the version 2's out, and I definitely don't want to try that. I've heard it's really weighty. In my size, Tim Gross, again, fellow YouTuber, he tested it in my size. It was a hefty piece of kit. He wasn't impressed, and kind of like I said, thanks Tim, thanks for taking one for the team there. I definitely am not interested in that. But again, so many of you say the Prime X Strung, the original version, is one to get. So I am kind of like keeping my eye out for some really good discounts on that, really when it gets down to that kind of clearance level, the first version of course. And the New Balance Propel version 4, that was a bit of a curveball this year, wasn't it? I tested the first ever Propel. My videos on that did really well, by the way, because everyone went for the Rebel, no one went for the Propel. So my videos on that shoe kind of exploded a little bit, and I really enjoyed the shoe. It was a great shoe, funny sizing, but it worked really well. I never bothered testing 2 and 3 because it was very similar, but I gather this year the Propel 4 has had a bit of a makeover. There's a composite plate in there, or some kind of plate in there. It's not carbon, but it's something, and I gather that it's just kind of had a bit of a revamp. And again, I speak to a lot of people, they're using it a lot for their daily training, their moderate miles, even up to some marathon pace. They're really, really enjoying that shoe. So a couple of shoes that didn't make the list, but I just wanted to throw in there. And Nike, we can't leave this video without mentioning them. What have they done this year that's excited me? Absolutely nothing. And I don't mean this in a particularly derogatory way, but I'm just going to be honest with you, there's been nothing that they've released that excites me. Now I feel like Nike are in a bit of a conundrum at the moment because they're producing, let's say, some of the best racing shoes, but everything else beneath that just seems to be absolute trash. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but I don't at the same time. For me personally, they're just kind of doing a lot of stuff that is just going away from what everyone else is doing. So again, speaking to Tim, seeing his videos, seeing what a lot of his daily trainers weigh. I'm testing in a UK size 13. Daily trainers that range between 340 and 350 grams. Some of Nike's daily trainers in our size are over 400 grams. They're completely off the scale. And I'm thinking to myself, these trainers that I'm already testing are on the heavier side. Why would I want to chuck another 40 grams on there? And what benefit am I getting? Every time I test a Pegasus, I didn't mind the last Vomero I tested, which was a 15, but the last Pegasus I think I tried was a 38 or 39, maybe even 37, I can't remember. And it was just so flat, and every year I hear the same report from people. Other companies are doing daily trainers a million times better. What would I love to see? A flipping good slap around the face in their R&D department and get some better daily trainers and speed day shoes out there in 2024, 25 and 26. I'm sure 2024's models are already dialed in, but let's see some change in 2025. Please become a bit more competitive with the other brands and make me want to put you on the list, because right now you're absolutely doing nothing, I suppose, that makes me want to put you on the list. So anyway, after that little ramble, I'm sure Nike don't give a monkeys about what I think, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. And of course, just as I said in the intro of the video, please do get in the comments. Tell me about these shoes I've missed in testing. Do you like them? And where, of course, do they fit into your rotation? How do you use them? It'd be great to hear so that I can see if they're ones that I would definitely want to try and keep an eye out on sale. Instantly, for me, out of that list, the Adidas 8 and the Rocket X2 were the two that stand out at the top that I really do want to try. Other than that, the others, if they come up, are the opportunities there. I really would love them, but those two stand out above the rest. Again, please drop your comments below. I'd love to hear from you down there. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you in the next one. Until then.